What's up, average viewers? Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, which it most definitely is, thanks for clicking on that video. I hope you stick around to the end to see what we're all about here. Basically, my name's Hayden. I'm just your average guy who likes movies. You probably are too. Guy or Gallette. Galleta, that's a cookie in Spanish. Okay. I know you've been out working, grinding, hustling to earn that dollar, and I don't want you spending your hard-earned money on a hot piece of garbage. So, The Bad Guys, is it worth spending $10 on? If I'm being honest, this movie is pretty bad, guys. This movie is directed by Pierre Perifel, who did some animation work on Kung Fu Panda 2 and Monsters vs. Aliens. It was written by Ethan Cohen, who did Men in Black 3 and Madagascar 2. Some notable actors are Craig Robinson as the shark, Awkwafina as the tarantula, and Sam Rockwell as the wolf. Our story follows the wolf as he leads a gang of misfits on various heists and criminal activities until he finds that the way to avoid getting caught may be to become good guys. Before we jump into the review, let's start with our content warning. There's really nothing to worry about here, you guys, unless you have some PTSD with farts or guinea pigs. There isn't anything suggestive or questionable enough that you couldn't bring your kids to the movie. The Bad Guys kicks off with a good start. There's a great opening scene with some really creative animation and camera work. The strongest point of the movie is definitely its aesthetics. I'd say a lot of this is owed to Into the Spider-Verse. It kind of started a revolution where different animating styles are being explored. There are some really cool and interesting uses of 2D elements and comic book-esque illustrations in combination with the 3D animation. However, I felt that maybe it drew a little too much inspiration from Into the Spider-Verse, as it broke the fourth wall and slapped down different books just like Spider-Verse did with comic books. And actually, that's my main criticism of the movie. The whole time, I noticed things that it borrowed from other movies, and it just never improved upon them or did anything new or interesting with them. For example, this movie borrows heavily from other heist movies, specifically the Ocean series, but there was never an interesting spin or difficult obstacle to overcome in the heists. They were really unimaginative, which is just way below standards for what can be done with an animated movie. Our cast is a variety of different animals, from sea creatures to mammals, and they could have had really interesting roles or unique abilities during these heists. Instead, the shark has disguises, the wolf pickpockets, the piranha beats people up, and the tarantula is the guy in the chair. The only character that gets something interesting to do based on the fact that he's an animal is the snake, who gets used as a rope. There were many opportunities for this movie to be original, but I don't think that was the purpose of this movie. It feels more like an animated movie that DreamWorks were obligated to make in order to compete with IPs like Sing and Zootopia. The problem may be even deeper than that. To be honest, this movie just failed to entertain. From animated movies, I've come to expect clever and witty humor. I expect to chuckle all throughout. This movie just did not nail it with the jokes. There were very few times that the rest of the people in the theater would laugh as well. Now, that would be okay if it weren't attempting to be a comedy, but it definitely was. It just fell flat. The character banter was poorly written. I never laughed at any interactions the gang had with each other. It's unfortunate because we are told that the gang members are lifelong friends, but you just don't believe it. It's weird to say in an animated movie that the characters didn't have chemistry, but that's sort of how it felt. You know movies like Shrek where there are a few jokes for adults that just go over the heads of the kids and are so hilarious when you understand them? There aren't any of those in here. There are 3 times the theater laughed, and it was during the 3 fart jokes. So you will be bored, and your kids will be bored. I don't think this movie will gain status among its competitors. I don't think kids will be asking you to turn it on for them over and over again. I think they will recognize and sense that something about it is just a little bit off and insincere and not quite charming enough. I really didn't want to be hard on this movie, but it failed to do the one thing an animated movie has the most potential to do: entertain me and teach me a good moral lesson. The bad guys try to become good, but the motivation they are given for doing so is so that they can be loved and applauded rather than feared. Essentially, this movie didn't teach that you should be good inherently, but you should be good because it feels good when people like you. This could have been a great movie about stereotypes and growing out of them and becoming whatever you want regardless of how society perceives you. However, it didn't quite explore that enough, and it would have fallen flat anyways because the movie itself is hypocritical and plays into so many stereotypes in the story. Even the twist just changed the movie from a generic heist movie into an evil villain with a plan movie. You guys, I don't want to keep bad-mouthing this movie, but I don't think it was anything special. I think it will blend into the crowd this year and will be forgotten because there was nothing iconic about it in terms of story, performances, or messages. It feels like an unoriginal ripoff that didn't do anything as well as the movies it borrowed from. Maybe you think your kids won't care or notice this kind of thing, but in the theater we were in, there just wasn't a whole lot of joy or laughter coming from the kids. Ultimately, I don't think it's worth taking your whole family to see and spending that amount of money on. That's why I'm giving The Bad Guys a wait for streaming. You take that money you would have spent and go treat yourself to a nice back massage because you deserve it. Alright guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you disagree with me? Did you have a good time and a good laugh? In the meantime, why don't you hit that subscribe button and that bell so I can see your beautiful face in the next video. As always, Mom, thanks for watching, and the rest of you, stay average.